So growth, thank you so much for all the hands raised, and that's our theme today. So my intention for today is that we are all going to grow a little bit, and my intention is that two things. The first thing, if you could move on to the next slide, will be that one, at the end of today, this will have been your time well spent, worth your time, that you will have gained some new perspective and new insight that you can already apply today from our discussions, because that's why we are here. And number two, I know some of you are thinking, okay, what is this EEX journey? Somebody invited me here, but I have no idea what it is. So you get a better idea, a clear picture of whether this is for you. Super, right. And now moving on, growth comes from, as we hear from our participants a lot, this is different, doing something different. And this is somewhat frustrating and challenging. It comes from being out of your comfort zone. And so the question is, what comes with growth? And what does it require of you? What does it need of you? What do you need to put in? And so I would like you to put in the chat box, when you think about growing and getting out of your comfort zone, doing something different, what comes to mind? How do you feel? You can put either one word or an emoji there. What comes to mind when you think about doing something different, growing out of your comfort zone? Fun but risky, energetic, courage. Time constraints, very practical. Happy, scared in a good way. Exciting, bringing something important into the world. Yes. Yes. Rewarding and challenging, adrenaline, nomad. Okay, growth can hurt. Time well spent, great pain of learning. Very good insights. Very good insights. And meanwhile, while you are putting your comments in the chat, I'd like to just remind you to take note that this session is being recorded, and also to keep yourself muted, and until the Q&A session, then we can unmute and share our questions. All right, Marco says tough to convince the brain, or maybe the heart, to do so. Super. Right, the program for today. And so the first going to be on the stage is going to be Tapio. Tapio is our founder, our visionary, the brains behind Entrepreneurship Exchange. And many of you already know Tapio, and some of you will get to meet him. And he's going to share why we do what we do and what the EEX journey is about. And then we move on to the meat of today, which is our discussion with Tarik and Ykä, our program alumni. They're going to share their insights with us. And finally, we get the chance to also take some questions from you. So feel free, anytime, if you have some questions, just drop them in the chat, and we're going to come to that in the Q&A. So with me today from our Entrepreneurship Exchange team, there is Tapio, and then there is also Paulina. Paulina is in red.
Hello.
Very good. And Paulina is our startup ecosystem manager, and she's going to be moderating the chat and just making sure all our questions, we'll answer them at the end. Okay, super. Right, and with that, I pass the ball to you, Tapio. Stage is yours.
Thank you, Huimin. Welcome all. I will just take a couple of minutes of your time because I'm positive that you want to hear from our participants. So I'm Tapio Peltonen, and this is the reason why we do what we do. I mean, world has to change, and the change is made by entrepreneurs in startups and in small companies, but also by the entrepreneurs in big companies. It's the entrepreneurial leaders in all kinds of companies who make the change happen. You can't learn this sitting in a corporate offices or in a classroom. So you have to step out. And this is what it's all about. It's two-way street. So we help to grow the corporate leaders, but we also help the startups to grow, both the businesses and the entrepreneurs themselves. What we do, in a nutshell, large companies give us some of the best and brightest leaders, and we form them into advisory boards, 3, 4, or 5 people from different big companies, serving for one startup, one team of entrepreneurs for 1 year. They meet every 3 or 4 weeks. There's one example, and you get to talk to the guys in a minute, so I won't bother you. So people from different industries, different parts of the world coming together to help this one particular startup. We build it into flexible but systematic program where we always have a bunch of these teams starting together. We have a bunch of events, but then the main body of the work is done with your real startup. So if you're an entrepreneur, you get 3 or 4 great people. If you're a big company leader, you get to work with real startup, with all what comes with it. We are working with some of the best startups and best big companies, best entrepreneurs, and the best leaders from the large companies. Really, really exciting community of people. We're looking forward to working more with our alumni, and it's growing fast. And the whole point is to help the startup to grow, all of us to grow as people, as leaders, both the entrepreneurs and the large company leaders, to grow as leaders, for which, as the development psychology says, we need a challenge, a heat experience, something that challenges us to think. And then we need the perspectives, the different views and perspectives to help us to think different. And we need to reflect. This is how we grow. And if we succeed doing this, we will do what Peter Drucker wrote 1985 when he wrote about, in order to save the welfare society, we need an entrepreneurial society in which innovation and entrepreneurship are daily life for all the leaders in all organizations. This is why we do this. I'm happy to have you all here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tapio. Great, super. And so now we come back to the meat of the session today. We wanted to come here because I know many of you have many questions. And so we are going to hear from our alumni, Tarik, Sfendla, and Ykä Marjanen. And they are both building new sustainability solutions in their businesses, respectively, the corporate business and the startup business. So first I will introduce them a little bit, and then you get to hear from them. So Tarik is the head of business development and decarbonization services in Wärtsilä, and he's based in Paris. As we heard from him just now, he's right now in Casablanca. And he's an expert in energy transition, developing energy markets globally for a transition towards 100% renewable energy future. And he's been in his 14 years in Wärtsilä, he's been leading projects in Finland, in France, and multiple countries in North and West Africa. But other than that, we also know Tarik as a multi-talented person, especially in the music area. He's been a DJ in our community events, so we hope to have him in more of our events playing his music. Welcome, Tarik. Yes.
Thank you.
And we have also Ykä Marjanen. He's known as the most persistent entrepreneur from northern Finland, from Oulu. And he's been on the management of many businesses, on the board, and as well he's been co-founding multiple businesses, especially in the area of leading innovation and product development. So he's based in Finland, but I believe right now he's calling in from India. He can tell us more later what he's up to over there. And he has a PhD from human sciences and 15 years of technical experience in innovation and product development. But right now, Ykä is channeling all of this experience into saving the world through insects. And through Manna insect, for which he's a founder, he's solving multiple sustainability problems at the same time. And he's going to share with us more later what Manna insect is doing. And Ykä and Tarik, you have both been in the same team, actually in the same advisory board in 2021 to 2022. So we get to hear not just from their individual experiences, but how they feel that the team has worked out for them and the whole arrangement, the whole experience of being an advisory board. So the floor is yours, and we're very happy to have both of you here today. Thank you so much for being with us. And so would you first like to take us back to summer of 2021 and share with us what got you started? Why did you start on this journey? What were your expectations?
Tarik, you go first. You are on the list on top of me. I'm just having the notes.
Yeah, sure. Well, hello and good morning from my side. It's really a pleasure here to be with the EEX community, and also being able to share the exceptional experience I have had the chance to live during the program together with Ykä and his team, and also with the rest of the advisory board and the rest of the EEX community and team. Well, now when I look back at summer 2021, at that moment I remember I was feeling excited because I have been I heard about EEX. I discussed it with my management, and I got the green light to join the program. So at that moment, I didn't know which company, which startup I will be working on. I didn't know who would be the advisory board I will be collaborating with, but I knew that I was extremely excited and happy to join the program and exercise, because basically if I look at it from a corporate perspective, for us in Wärtsilä, it has been we qualify ourselves as an innovative company in the arena where we work, and from that perspective, collaborating with startups which are at the front line of innovation is for us basically a way to understand future trends and achieve innovation goals and design solutions and services in ways our customers can value. But then again, from a personal standpoint, at that moment before joining, my objective was basically to bridge a gap between the two areas where I have developed my career. So I started my career in project management, which is a very practical discipline and an extremely processed way of working to execute power plant projects around the globe. And that was the first part of my career. And then the second part was in market development, which is highly theoretical, highly analytical. And I wanted at that moment to bring the practicality and the theory into something in between, to think about how I can turn ideas into businesses. And that was what was animating me when I joined the program back in summer 2021. Ykä.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I tried to remember. I don't exactly remember where the EEX came from, but at least what I mean, I've had experience in 15 years of different kind of accelerator programs and mentoring and all that, and the difference was two things, at least, or actually three things. One was that this is a long term. This is like 1 year. The other is that the advisory board came from industry, so they were not like consultants that are in the typical accelerator programs. And then third one was that it was company specific, so it wasn't general advice that you get like in the accelerator programs. They don't really spend time with you particularly, but the group of startups. So that got me in that sense excited, that I thought that this was a good good opportunity. And also we were at that point where we were not just fully thinking about R&D and technical things, which I didn't expect. No one can really outside help that much, but we were really thinking, how do we do business in an area which is completely new and emerging, and B2B and all that. So it was a very perfect fit for me, and also in my role as a CEO, to get like very outside thinking and new perspective and new ideas, and kind of like a critical environment, like a safe but critical environment that don't just be just support, but actually challenge on thinking and like pricing models and so on. So yeah, I don't remember like what happened, but again, I don't remember how I got married with my wife. I just knew that something good happened and it was a good timing. So I think it was kind of like the same thing. It just happened with a good timing, and I didn't think too much about it at the time, that why not join. The only thing was that yes, you have to commit for a year. So of course that made a little bit kind of like thinking that can I do I have the time to commit, because there's no point of going into it otherwise.
Thank you, Tarik. Thank you, Ykä. I hope you are still not regretting your marriage to us.
Yeah, no, I mean now it's the easy part. We can do these kind of things. So yeah.
Very good. And so maybe you could share with us a little bit about the background, some context for us to understand what is it that Manna Insight is doing, and also introduce your advisory board. Now we have met Tarik, and share a bit how did this team work together? How was the experience working together with this diverse group of advisors? Like you said, they are not consultants; they are coming from the industries.
Yeah, so Manna is, if you want to summarize it very like shortly, we basically 4 years ago we fell in love with this insect, black soda-fly larvae. And when I mean fall in love, is like how engineers fall in love in something. It's like a perfect technology that converts any biomaterial back to high quality animal feed and different other purposes. So we have the first 3 years we spent on understanding this animal. How do we rear and breed it? Because it wasn't, it's not given. There's not that much information online. And figuring out how do we enable that species so that anyone in the world can get the maximum value out of that power that it has. And eventually, what we ended up, why I'm here in India, for example, is that we are selling a way to design and refurbish used shipping containers into a smart climatized environment where you can then rear and breed this insect with 95% efficiency without being entomologist or without investing into tens of thousands of euros. And when we were at the EEX, we actually, I don't even want to remember what we had as business idea at that time, but it changed a lot during that time. And we were like really trying to figure out how do we deploy this and what is Manna's role in this. So it was like an identity road, as well as like more detailed like business and product development. And yeah, there's Elisa put the advisory board. So Mario came from government, which might seem a very like for Finnish people a very dull place to work, but at least Mario made it sound much more interesting work environment. The tax office and especially her role as a communicator was a very, like, I got definitely a much positive let's say a picture of the tax office, as well as of course Mario was very good at giving a, let's say, a non-technical view as well, because then more or less Mari, Harri, Vesa and Tarik were from like more from technical and process side in that sense. Mari was also representing the university and research side, which was also a bit different from other members. And I mean, I have to say that unfortunately, I think we were not able to like fully meet everyone because of COVID and all those restrictions. But actually, that doesn't seem to bother that much afterwards. I mean, I felt that we kind of met physically online many times. And Patria from Harry was actually that was a company that I used to work as a consultant for. So that was the only company that I actually knew something about, but I had never met Harry also. And then and Vesa and Tarik came from big companies, like multinational big companies, even though they have Finnish roots, but they're basically foreign companies in that sense. And of course, I was very glad that Tarik was. I think, if I remember right, was it that the EEX? This was first year when they were like non-Finnish advisors as well. But I kind of understood that this was a new thing. But that's very great that we got like we didn't stick with Finnish language and within Finland and all that. So that was also great. And I think everyone was very experienced. So there was I think at least like 20 years of experience. And if I remember right, everyone had a long careers in their respective companies, if I'm not completely mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I recall as well, Ykä. If I may jump here, well, you said one thing which was quite at least striking for me when I joined the advisory board is that the variety of experiences and competencies that we were having in within the advisory board, and that was actually something which made our team and our board extremely I would say collaborative and complementary. And that was extremely key to get the support that we were willing to give to Ykä and his team to continue the development of Manna Insect. And also I would say that when we started the journey, the idea we all had in the advisory board, and also Ykä and his team, about the business was one thing, but then when we look at it today and how it has evolved, it was really fascinating to see that switch and that pivoting to get more precise into the product, to get a better understanding about who would be the customers and how to monetize the services and the technology that Ykä's team has developed for a couple of years before they joined the program. And of course, one thing that helped stick basically the whole, put some glue into this advisory board, I must admit, is basically the passion and the experience of Ykä. That was I can say that it was extremely inspiring for me and for all of us to see that passion in action, to see that motivation, etc. It was really really fascinating for me, and it got me to understand that entrepreneurship is not about purely, I would say, intellectual aspects, but it's about what you have in your heart, how you feel things, and how you build, you believe in your ideas, and how you turn them into businesses. And from that perspective, the mix that we had within our advisory board was just perfect to support Ykä and also to help us learn as individuals within these teams.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I have to say, I don't think anyone knew each other anywhere, any way before. So of course it's always a let's say a interesting starting point where you have a common goal. There is a structure based on EEX, and everyone kind of understands in their role, but from like a personal point of view, no one knows each other when you start.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing, I remember discussions I was having with Elisa before joining the program, and when we started talking about what type of startups I would be joining, etc. I mean, naturally, I'm very passionate about the energy and energy transition. So maybe naively, I was trying to push to join maybe a team which is operating in the same arena where I'm working, and Elisa didn't want to say anything, and she said that okay, you will see after you go through the program. And actually, I'm really happy that I discovered the domain that I didn't know nothing about, and I saw basically how we can conduct business, whatever the type of idea you can have. And that was also a big learning from this experience, actually, to discover Manna insect and learn about this business and how we can turn this amazing idea into something which is which will provide growth, hopefully, for Ykä and his team.
Thank you. Wow, lots of gems in here, and that's also what we have noticed, that the people in our community, they are like a different breed. Like you talk about Ykä's passion, and I see that same kind of passion and enthusiasm, likewise, you know, from the advisors' side as well. And you have said that you're so proud of him. So maybe you could share also a little bit, like you started talking about the learnings of being in this different dimension with a diverse group of advisors. So maybe Tarik can start sharing first. What were some of those like top 3 key learnings that came from this whole experience that you take back to your apply back to your daily work, and how it has changed you as a person and professional?
Well, I think that if I have to select 3, the first one that come to mind is basically the attitude, and it was really impressive, from really insightful from my side to see how we can conduct change in startup world. And from that perspective, I would say that we have a lot in the corporate world to learn from entrepreneurs, because basically entrepreneur always searches for change, and tries to respond to it and exploit it as an opportunity. And I don't know if the audience, there are many people who are coming from large organizations, but what I can recall from my own perspective is that sometimes we tend to ask ourselves questions such as why, when we are dealing with new ideas, rather than taking it from the other angle and asking the question why not. And that's something that was really striking for me through this experience. Then maybe the second takeaway for me would be that there are learning from the peers and learning from the advisory board. That was also something extremely rich for me, because since we had different competencies, different backgrounds, but still we managed to find a way to optimize basically the learnings for all of us and share experiences between us, and that was also part of the learning. I got to see how other organizations actually operate change, and how they conduct their daily work. And the third takeaway is basically about what could make success in projects and businesses. And the conclusion that I came out with together with the other advisory board after this experience was that if you have a mix of complementary competencies, a variety of backgrounds and experiences, and we add to that the right attitude, and namely the openness and willingness to learn, then you can have fun and success in each and every project and business you conduct. Was it in the corporate world, or was it in the startup world? So, and I was happy to experience that in real life together with Ykä and his team in Manna insect. Ykä, what were your 3 takeaways?
Well, yeah, I think like you you said like half of what I would have said, but maybe from the other side. But I think like from a startup perspective, this is you can create with this format, especially because it's a long format, and you are they're personal people for your case. They're just not like a generalized people for all company. You can create a very like a transparent and kind of like a safe, supportive group for you as a CEO, which you cannot do practically anywhere, like with your investors or board or colleagues in that sense. And that's something that you can turn into a very big, let's say, support for you in the journey. And that was at least with us. I mean, came very naturally. At least I didn't think, and I'm personally very open, transparent anyway. But that's something that if you think too much what to say or how to present your company, or try to be too positive and kind of sales person like, you don't need to kind of try to convince these people that you're doing good. That actually you want to convince them that you have issues that you want help. So that's like a very important, and I would say that kind of like honestly go through, and then kind of use it as a real mentoring session, and not just a session where you do tasks. Or and also that I have a very short, I spent 4 or 5 years in Finnish Technical Research Center in my youth before I started. So I haven't been in big companies in almost 20 years. So of course I have no idea, but their challenges from that perspective. But I didn't really see that. Like I saw like 5 persons who are interested and motivated and open-minded. I didn't really I didn't see, and no one was complaining about their company problems. You probably had your own internal advisory meetings where you probably did that if you decide like how does it do in Wärtsilä versus ABB and so on. But yeah, it was very natural. So it's very hard for me to, of course, compare to other advisory boards and experiences. But for us, it was very like natural. It's very easy to get started and then just start talking about the issues and kind of like different ideas. And also the one takeaway, like very concrete, was that it was a very good idea, like that every one of the advisory members were, of course, responsible for the meeting of the next meeting, and then we did different methods on. So we didn't have like a same structure every time. We actually had a very different style for every meeting, which also helped a lot to kind of not fall into like a routine pattern where you just have the meeting every 3 weeks and you spend 3 hours talking.
Very good. Thank you. Very valuable insights. And it seems that I think we kind of rolled into the Q&A a little bit because Nicole was asking a question that Tarik already answered. So, and we already have some of you who have posted some questions on the chat, and some of you have also posted questions to us before. So I think now is a good time for us to also take questions. Right. Alberto is here, and Alberto, would you like to share your question? You were asking a question about how the advisors showed up during tough times. How were the arguments handled?
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm the only Alberto on the call.
You're the right Alberto.
Yes, and it is my question. Yeah, so my question comes from having been in the world of large companies. Like I worked for Apple, I worked for Palm back in the day, I worked for Google, I worked for Nest. And when I started to go into startups, the main thing is like, how do things go when things get tough, right? And because everybody comes from a different company, how do you actually help the startups as advisors, given the different cultures in each one of your companies? And I just wonder how that works. I know the startup could kind of keep it together in their own little sense in a way, but how does the advisory board work when it's something fairly complex. And yeah, I guess it's kind of a broad question, but how do you deal with the tough times, I guess, is the main one.
Thanks, Alberto, for this question. It's a very practical and and real one. I mean, you can imagine that during 1 year and of collaboration, we have had ups and downs. And the thing, what was key, I believe, in keeping the target, the main target, for all of us along the journey was basically in terms of attitude. I think that all the advisory board members came with the will to learn something and to contribute. So there was nobody who was forced to join the program. It was willingly that each one of us have joined, and I think that made it a bit more easy for us along that learning journey, because that's what it is about for us, especially in the advisory board. That's what made change, and that's what made it easier for us to overcome these challenging moments where we don't agree, we don't understand, we don't align, all of us within the advisory board or together with Ykä and his team, etc., etc. So I think that being taking a step back and remembering that we are here to learn and made it much more easier for us to learn and listen and take a different stand. Of course, in corporate world, it's much more difficult because we don't consider necessarily every day that we are in a meeting to learn. We are in a meeting to conduct business, and that's the difference in terms of interpretation, and that's what made the experience as such much easy and much fruitful for everyone from the advisory board perspective.
Please, sorry.
Yes. Is there something you want to add to that, Ykä, about experience with the advisory board? And because you mentioned something earlier as well about how this is different from being in an accelerator or an incubator program, and in the sense, so what would you share about that experience? We had a question about that. What's the difference, and why did you choose this?
Yeah, one of course it's like 1 year. Of course, it's a long time, and especially from startup company, it's just like a 10 normal years, basically, that 1 year, and especially if it happens in a specific period of the startup life, it like many things can happen and can be completely different outside. And then it's a question that it's kind of like a balance between you have goals and you want to do like a concrete things, but then you're very flexible on what those are and what you're expecting, so that there is not like you can't expect the advisory board or this program to be like, okay, we're going to do a business model or marketing strategy or something like tangible, but more or less that I want to get new ideas on how I should think about marketing strategy or communication strategy or pricing models, and then maybe ask like, okay, how do they do it in ABB or Wärtsilä? How do you think this way and that way? I think if I remember right, we did make NDAs for the purpose that we can share something that is still like disclosed or non-disclosed, like between there, so we can actually go into details. But I think for the startup team, they have to it is a challenge to kind of balance between you're doing something tangible and you're bringing problems, but you're not expecting like very tangible like quantitative results. I mean, I'm benefiting most of those that we discussed, I'm benefiting like now, not then at that specific moment. Or it was kind of like, okay, this is an issue now, I think it's an issue, but it wasn't really an issue. There was some other issue coming, but now it's an issue, and it kind of helped to kind of train on that. So yeah, I think that's the key. That is your guys, your own group, and it's for a year. So that's totally, you have to kind of figure out a way to get like something new out of that, which is not possible in most of the other programs.
that's the beauty of this. It is, like you said, this commitment 1 year, and the effects doesn't just last within that 1 year. It goes on, and that.
Yeah, and we met. I think we pretty systematically met every 3 weeks. So it wasn't like every 2 months, which could like it was a very tight, in that sense, tight schedule that you kind of kept part of it. So it was like it was almost like a company's real advisory board, in the sense that we actually met much more than the board met during that time. And you kind of really learn these people like in practice as well. So it probably the first meetings compared to last meetings, of course, different topics would have been more appropriate at the later part than the first part. So that has to kind of be a part of that kind of journey as well.
And maybe to share also on the way we were organizing ourselves in the advisory board. So yes, we were meeting every 3 weeks, and at each session we had one advisory board member who was chairing the whole session and preparing it well in advance together with the secretary that was assigned. And we were rolling basically the responsibilities along the journey. So each one of us had to chair at least 2 sessions of the advisory board, and we agreed since the very beginning that each one of us would have the freedom to conduct the advisory board in the way that he or she believes is fit for the purpose, together with Ykä during the preparation. So yeah, it was interesting to work on that perspective and prepare the advisory board as a chair, but also listen to others and how they see the challenges or the objectives, how they tackle them in their own way, and that was also very insightful.
Thank you. I'm mindful of the time, and because the questions are so great, we actually have more questions. So I just want to check in with everybody. Do you still have some minutes if we take maybe 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap up? Thank you. And so yes, super. We actually also have one question from the corporate side as well. Like if you're considering doing an MBA or an executive MBA, and I know Tarik, you have done an EMBA before, so what's the difference? Like, you know, how would you like explain the added value of this journey?
Well, yeah, I had the chance to before joining the program to complete an executive MBA, which is an extremely valuable also learning journey. But I see quite a difference in what we get as outcomes from the experience and the hard work that is given as part of the MBA. Well, when you join EEX, it's so close to the real world of conducting business. It's much closer because we are immersed in real business, real businesses, and dealing with real problems and trying to solve real challenges that the startup is facing. I remember during the MBA, we have had, I don't know how many dozens of case studies that we have gone through through different angles and different disciplines, etc., etc. But at the end, it was, even if during the MBA, the idea was to get it as close as possible to reality, but still it's first theory and then trying to apply the theory through business cases. Here, in the EEX journey, it's real world. We are talking about a real startup and supporting a real startup. And from that perspective, I mean, you probably have seen how I'm happy about this about this experience each time I think about it, and each time I have the chance to see Ykä and think about where we started and where Manna Insect is today. I can only feel proud about Ykä and his team and what they have done, and yeah, seeing results concretely of the collaboration we have for 1 year, that's something unique and complementary as such to an executive MBA program. I don't know if I answered the question in the right way, but yeah, that's how I feel about it.
It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Is there still, I think we probably can take one more question before we wrap up. Is there somebody who has a burning question? Raise your hands. All right. Well, then I guess what I would suggest is that we're going to wrap up and we're going to stay here still a little bit longer. So whoever, I know you're rushing off to some meetings, whoever is still available, just stay here and continue asking us some more questions still. And yes, exactly that. So coming to the close, I would like us to take a moment now to just reflect because there's been so many insights shared today. So if you could put in the chat, what is one new insight or perspective that you have gained today? One new insight or perspective that you have gained today. Julia says it's about the right attitude. Ilana talks about hope. Elisa, the power of diversity.
Yes, there cannot be new understanding without different points of view, different views. I mean, that's a must.
Mm. Oh, Yari.
Thank
Yari
you.
says the world needs EEX type of programs.
Well, it's not us changing the world, it's you guys who are going to change the world. I mean, I hate to break the news, but it is actually you, the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial leaders in big companies who are going to take care of the transformation of things, for example, things like the climate crisis. Sorry.
Really good insights. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And our phone lines are open. You know, you can always reach us even after this session when you have more questions. And Paulina, thank you. You have dropped our contact details that you can book a meeting with us. You know, if you're ready, if you think that this could be something you'll be interested in from the corporation side to get like a hands-on perspective, real case, and just do the work together with a diverse group of other like senior leaders from industries. You know, reach out and contact Elisa. Her email is here, or then on the chat there is a booking link. And from the startup side, if you're ready to have a committed board and walk with you for a whole year and really spar with you, witness the growth of your business, go through those challenging and tough times and discussions together as well, reach out to Paulina. Her email is here and her contact, the chat as well.